Thousands of supporters have packed the Giant Stadium outside Pretoria in Soshanguve for the launch of the EFF's election manifesto. Leader Julius Malema has been presenting the EFF's lists of hopes and promises for the national poll later this year in May. We've got a team on the ground to bring you all of the details and analysis from there. Let's go live now to NCA anchor Thulas Simelane, who joins us from Soshanguve. Thulas, land and jobs now, no surprises there, but are these things contained in the speech pie-in-the-sky promises or practical policy suggestions by Julius Malema and the EFF?
Well, Nicholas, in the words of Julius Malema, the EFF doesn't make promises. It actually gives undertakings and actually makes sure that it follows through. So it did outline, I mean, I've been looking at this document for the past few hours, the manifesto. It's about 170 pages that is full of plans and programs that the ANC, the EFF plans to pursue over the next 5 years. And you're absolutely right, the focus is on our land and jobs now. And I said earlier on that this is interesting because in past, rhetoric and what the EFF has had to say, usually they don't single out the issue of jobs. They speak about the economy, transforming the economy and ensuring that it benefits the majority of South Africans. But it seems this time around, they wanted to focus specifically on the issue of jobs and make a number of proposals relating to land, how the land would be transferred and ensure that it is owned by the state but benefits the majority of South Africans, but also ensuring that the majority of South Africans have jobs, and also a whole bouquet of promises in as far as social, this social security net is concerned. So such things as the provision of free education, provision of housing, as well as social grants, doubling that. That is the pledge from Julius Malema. Let's unpack the speech and what is entailed there over the next few minutes. I'm joined by Professor Lesiba Tefu and also joined by Chamano Makadi, who's been with us throughout the day. So, Prof, let me start with you. That, if we park the issue of land for a moment, because we expected it, and it is the #1 cardinal pillar of the EFF, were you surprised, as I was, that the issue of jobs was singled out by the EFF in the way that they're doing, as opposed to talking about transforming the economy as they've always done? Why do you think they believed they needed to be pointed in their focus on the issue of jobs?
Well, look, I would be surprised if any political party or political leader at this juncture would not talk about the job question. If you are talking about 25 or 26% of the people unemployed, and you are a politician, and you are speaking not to that point, then I would say you are living in cuckoo land. It's a necessary thing to address. It's a necessary thing to talk about. And I think they understand and they appreciate that everybody is doing that. Otherwise, they would find themselves a bit wanting.
Chamano, do you want to come in on this? I understand what Prof is saying, that it would be surprising if a political party doesn't talk about jobs given the state of unemployment that we face. I accept that, but I'm saying that in terms of EFF messaging, they hardly ever elevate it to, like becoming the theme of their election manifesto. What did you make of that elevation of jobs? Is it easier to sell?
No, I think the subject of jobs has become probably far more important if you are looking at the numbers that are affected here. I'm talking specifically or with specific reference to young people who are in their majority. As we understand it today, over 9,000 people are without jobs. But also, again, if you're looking at the population with over 55 million people, that number, 60%, it's made up of young people. So I'm really not surprised that the EFF has singled out specifically the subject of jobs. It is the same thing that the ANC has also been talking about You would also remember that last year, 2018, President Cyril Ramaphosa, in his State of the Nation, he indicated that he was going to have a job summit, which later happened, it must have been around October last year. So the subject of jobs, one thing for sure, the EFF realizes that it is a subject that everyone is talking about.
Yeah.
It affects a large number of people in South Africa.
Having then said that, Prof, some of the proposals on jobs from the EFF include tax-free zones for corporates constructing and building new factories and firms and employing at least 2,000 people. That's a big undertaking. What did you make of that particular undertaking and promise? Also looking at it in the context where some of the promises of the EFF actually require a lot more tax revenue to be coming in for you to be able to double the social grants and providing free healthcare and free education.
You should be able to discern substance from rhetoric. There is a time at which it's placed to the gallery, and it behoves you to try to discern from what it says, what is practical, what is feasible, and what is doable. And the idea of incentivizing corporate is a universal principle. To the extent possible, do it. And I think they are learning from other spaces and from other experiences that would be the good thing to do. But then, the corollary to that, you need resources. Where do you get the money to do that? Right? To rob Peter, to give to Paul, then you're going to create tension. But as a principle, I think it's a good idea.
But in a way, you sort of balanced that by then saying that, I suppose he wasn't specific enough to say outside of these special economic zones, actually the corporate tax rate would be hiked in South Africa and VAT reduced.
Yeah,
you want to tackle that, Prof?
Right. If you reduce VAT, that's well and good, right? And remember, we are one of the highly taxed countries in the world, right? The VAT is also very high. And I would argue, if the resources were properly managed since 1994, South Africa would be taller than it is, would be perform better than it is. A lot of money goes through the drain into the pockets of the people that ought to have at least changed the material of those of the downtrodden. So it's not about lack of money. South Africa has money, but money is being mismanaged. Money ends up in the wrong hands.
That's a very nice way to segue then into what I want to focus on, Chamano, the whole issue. I don't know, am I the only one who felt that there's a lot of similarities between what the EFF is saying and what the ANC is saying? And of course that's open to interpretation as to who is quote unquote copying from whom in terms of what programs to implement. Sovereign Wealth Fund, you find that in the ANC promises, you find it in the EFF promises. Expropriation without compensation, ANC, EFF, except of course there's that difference of whether you nationalize or not. A state-owned bank and also the licensing of entities such as the Post Bank to be able to have a banking license. Both sides, you find the idea of free education on both sides. So is there enough though to set the EFF apart from the message that seems to have now been adopted by this really dominant political party called the ANC, who can actually go out there and say these have always been our ideas?
No, I mean, there's absolutely no question. There are a lot of similarities. If you're talking about the subject of land, the EFF might argue differently to say we have been talking about the subject of land for many years. It is only after us that you started talking about it. But if you look at it, there are a lot of similarities. And again, on the subject of jobs, you're talking about education. So the way I'm looking at it, obviously, every political organization, they are going towards elections. Of course, you want to speak the language that appeals to the masses, the language that people understand, the issues that affects them the most. It's almost crunch time. You want to tell them what they want to hear. So maybe let me just also, go back a little bit and touch on the practicality in terms of some of the things that we've heard here and the suggestions that have been made. Take an example of food process, rather food production. The question I am asking myself is, if it's going to all come out of South Africa, do we, number one, have the capacity, I'm talking about issue of skills to work the land? Yes, of course, the debate around the land, as we now understand it, is that it must be expropriated without compensation. But if all of this is to be done in South Africa, do we have the skills? I'm not hearing any suggestion to say maybe let's begin to train people towards.
I suppose we'll have to
that,
mine through the entirety of the manifesto. Let me ask you, Prof, about the radical ideas. Right, the whole idea of education is free. Your government has spent a lot of money hiring teachers for you, making sure that you have the resources. If we find you and you're not in school as a young person, we throw you in jail. We take you to what he called, quote unquote, Stone School, basically one of these juvenile centers where we will keep you until you finish your matric. Radical, isn't it? Would it work in South Africa?
It may sound radical for those who have not been around. I keep saying, not all about apartheid was wrong. When you saw a yellow car during the day, then you had to start running to make sure you are at school. That's how the law operated at the time, and the system worked. You had a sense that you had to be at school. And the police, without being mandated by the state, they found it as a parental responsibility to ensure that children go to school. So, this, the more things change, the more they remain the same. They talk about doing away with the tenders, the EFF. There were no tenders under apartheid, and the systems worked very well. There were always government cars, government employees taking care of the infrastructure, even on Sundays.
Right. Because we're running out of time, let me quickly then throw this to you, Chamano, and as quickly as you can. The whole idea of changing the structure of government, collapsing the provinces, basically no more provinces, national government, and 60% of spend happening at a local government level. I suspect you'll find a lot of sympathy for that, or am I wrong?
Look, and I think maybe that is informed by the divisions probably that we have seen. And again, if you're just taking an example of what Malema talks about with specific reference to languages and also the people that get to be bought, or maybe they pay certain individuals to say, I am, gunning for this particular position, maybe a position of a premier. Maybe it's a matter of saying, let's collapse everything into one, and moving forward, we no longer look at ourselves in terms of this one comes from this particular province. Probably the same discussion that is already going on around continent borders.
Thank you so much.
I just want to comment on this. There is nothing new about the issue of the provinces. The ANC almost took a decision on it 15 years ago.
Yes.
The same principle on changing the Electoral Act in 2004. Read that document, read that report by Faisal Rabet. You'll find that the ANC was already contemplating.
That whole issue of trying to avoid repetitions.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming through and sitting through this EFF manifesto launch with me. So there you have it, Nicholas. The EFF leader towards the end, they're getting really energized and animated and basically telling his supporters to go out there and preach the message of the EFF and ensure that they paint Gauteng red and ensure that people come out and vote for them. It's now up to the voters, and in the coming weeks, of course, we will be hearing from a whole lot more other political parties who will have their own crafted messages. I know, for instance, the UDM is coming up soon in terms of launching its manifesto. It's going to be quite an interesting festival of ideas as we build up to election 2019.
Tulis. That's, of course, the NCA's Tulis Sizwe Simelane, and political parties starting their engines ahead of elections.